He wasn't supposed to be home for Christmas, neither were these feelings. The key was still under the third flower pot on the left, exactly where it had been for the past 15 years. Emma brushed the snow off her coat and let herself into the Hartley house, her arms full of groceries and decorations. Mrs. Hartley had asked her to prepare the house for Christmas while the family was away in Europe, and Emma had jumped at the chance. The extra money would help with her student loans, and besides, she'd always loved this house. She'd been the girl next door for most of her childhood, literally living in the white colonial next to the Hartley's brick Tudor. She'd spent countless afternoons here, usually trailing after Mrs. Hartley's son, Daniel, who'd tolerated her presence with the patience of an older brother. That was 10 years ago. Now Daniel was some hotshot architect in Chicago, and Emma was finishing her master's degree in art history, house-sitting and pet-sitting her way through graduate school. The house was dark and quiet. Emma flipped on the lights and began unloading her supplies in the kitchen. According to Mrs. Hartley's detailed instructions, she was supposed to put up the tree, hang the stockings, and make sure everything looked festive even though no one would be home to see it. For when we look at the photos, Mrs. Hartley had said with a wistful smile, I can't bear the thought of the house looking empty on Christmas. Emma had just started untangling the string lights when she heard footsteps upstairs. Her heart stopped. The family was supposed to be in Switzerland. She grabbed the nearest weapon, a wooden spoon from the counter, and crept toward the stairs. Hello? A deep voice called out. Mom? Emma froze. She knew that voice. Daniel Hartley appeared at the top of the stairs, his dark hair disheveled, wearing sweatpants and an old Northwestern t-shirt. He looked just as shocked to see her. Emma? Daniel? She lowered the wooden spoon, feeling ridiculous. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Europe. He came down the stairs slowly, and she noticed the tension in his shoulders, the shadows under his eyes. I could ask you the same thing. Are you robbing us with kitchenware? Despite everything, she laughed. Your mom hired me to decorate. She didn't mention you'd be here. That's because she doesn't know. Daniel reached the bottom of the stairs and ran a hand through his hair. I was supposed to fly out with them, but something came up. Work stuff. I told them to go ahead, that I'd join them in a few days. He paused. That was a lie. I'm not going. There was something raw in his voice that made Emma's chest tighten. The Daniel she remembered had been confident, always sure of his next step. This version looked lost. Do you want some coffee? She offered. I was going to make some anyway. He nodded gratefully. They sat at the kitchen island while the coffee brewed, the silence stretching between them. Emma noticed he was thinner than she remembered, his jaw sharper, his eyes more guarded. So, she said finally, Chicago's been good to you? Your mom shows me pictures from your Instagram sometimes. Those buildings you design are incredible. Thanks. He gave her a tired smile. And you? Still planning to curate the world's best art museum? Working on it. One overpriced degree at a time. She poured them both coffee. Your mom's really proud of you, you know. She talks about you constantly. Something flickered across his face. Yeah, that's part of the problem. Emma waited, sensing he needed to talk. I quit my job, he said abruptly. 3 weeks ago. The fancy firm, the corner office, all of it. I couldn't do it anymore. Designing soulless corporate buildings for people who only care about tax breaks and profit margins. He laughed bitterly. My mom thinks I'm living the dream in Chicago. I haven't had the guts to tell her I threw it all away. Is that why you stayed behind? I couldn't face them. Couldn't fake being happy through Christmas dinner in some Swiss chalet, pretending everything's perfect. He looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. God, I'm sorry. I just unloaded all of that on you. We haven't seen each other in years, and I'm already a mess. It's okay, Emma said softly. I'm good at keeping secrets. A smile tugged at his lips. I remember. You never told anyone that I crashed my dad's car into the mailbox when I was 16? You bribed me with ice cream for a year. Best investment I ever made. They both laughed, and some of the tension eased. Outside, snow began to fall more heavily, blanketing the quiet street in white. So, Emma said, since you're here and I'm here, want to help me decorate? Your mom left very specific instructions. Daniel looked around at the boxes of decorations she'd brought in. You're still going to do all this even though they're not coming back? She's paying me. Besides, you're here. The house shouldn't be empty on Christmas. Something shifted in his expression. Okay, he said, but I'm in charge of the tree. You always put too much tinsel. There's no such thing as too much tinsel. See? This is why we could never be friends. We were friends, Emma protested. You were a tag-along. There's a difference. She threw a dish towel at him, and he caught it, grinning. For a moment, he looked like the boy she'd known, before life got complicated. They spent the afternoon transforming the house. Daniel hauled the tree in from the garage, a massive Douglas fir his parents had gotten before the trip, while Emma sorted through boxes of ornaments. They argued about decoration placement, sang off-key to Christmas music, and drank too much hot chocolate. Remember when you got your head stuck in the stair railings? Daniel asked, hanging a glass snowflake. I was 7, and you're the one who dared me to try. I also got you unstuck. With butter. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Never. As the day wore on, Emma found herself watching him when he wasn't looking. He'd changed, grown into himself in ways that made her breath catch. The awkward 20-something who'd left for Chicago had become someone more substantial, more real, even with his current struggles etched into the lines around his eyes. When Daniel caught her staring as he reached up to place the star on top of the tree, he raised an eyebrow. What? Nothing, she said quickly. Just, it's nice. Having you here. He climbed down from the ladder, his expression softening. Yeah, it is. That night, they ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor in front of the decorated tree, the lights casting everything in a warm glow. Can I ask you something? Emma said, picking at the label on her beer bottle. What do you actually want to do? If the corporate architecture thing isn't it. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I want to design homes. Real homes for real families. Not just monuments to wealth. Places that feel like this. He gestured around the living room. Places that hold memories. That sounds beautiful, Emma said. So why not do it? Because I'd be starting over. Because it means admitting I made a mistake. Because my parents sacrificed so much to send me to the best schools, and throwing away that career feels like throwing away their investment. Or, Emma said gently, it means you're brave enough to choose happiness over expectations. He looked at her, something vulnerable in his eyes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never noticed because you were too busy being the cool older kid. I was never cool. I was a nerd who liked buildings. You were cool to me. The air between them shifted, charged with something Emma couldn't quite name. Daniel set down his beer and moved closer. Emma, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. Her heart hammered. Okay, that summer before I left for Chicago, when you were home from college. Do you remember the 4th of July party? She remembered. They'd talked for hours on the back porch while fireworks exploded in the distance. She'd thought maybe, just maybe, something might happen between them. But then he'd left, and they'd fallen out of touch. I almost kissed you that night, Daniel said. I wanted to. But you were my kid neighbor, and I was leaving, and the timing was all wrong. And now? Emma whispered. Now you're not a kid, and I'm here, and the timing is... He paused, searching her face. I don't know if the timing is right or wrong, but I know I don't want to miss another chance, Daniel. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. These past few days, being around you, it's the first time in months I've felt like myself. Like I can breathe. Emma's mind raced. She'd had a crush on Daniel Hartley for years, had buried it under the assumption that he'd only ever see her as the annoying neighbor girl. But here he was, looking at her like she was something precious. The timing is terrible, she said, and watched his face fall. You just quit your job. You're figuring out your whole life. I'm barely keeping my own life together. We live in different cities. This is objectively a bad idea. Yeah, he agreed, his voice rough. It really is. But, Emma continued, her heart pounding, I've had a crush on you since I was 16 years old. So if you're going to kiss me, you should probably do it now. The smile that broke across his face was like sunshine. He cupped her face in his hands, gentle and sure, and kissed her soft and slow, like they had all the time in the world. Like the years apart had just been a long detour back to this moment. When they finally pulled apart, Emma was breathless. I wasn't supposed to be home for Christmas, Daniel murmured against her forehead. This was supposed to be the worst holiday of my life. And now? Now I think maybe everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. They stayed up talking until dawn, sharing stories and dreams, making plans that were probably too ambitious and definitely too soon. But sometimes the best things are the ones you don't plan for, the ones that catch you off guard when you're at your most vulnerable. As the sun rose on Christmas Eve, painting the snow-covered street in shades of pink and gold. Emma and Daniel sat together on the couch, wrapped in blankets, watching the tree lights twinkle. "I should probably tell my parents I'm not coming," Daniel said. "Probably. And we should figure out the whole different cities thing, and eventually. And I need to figure out my entire career, one thing at a time." He pulled her closer. "Stay," he said. "Not just today. Stay through Christmas. Let's have our own Christmas here, just us." Emma thought about her empty apartment, her original plans to spend the holiday alone with takeout and Netflix. She thought about the man beside her, who'd somehow become more than a childhood crush, who looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking for years. "Okay," she said, "but I'm in charge of Christmas dinner. Your cooking skills are questionable at best. Deal?" 2 days later, on Christmas morning, they woke up to a blanket of fresh snow and a house that felt like home. Emma made cinnamon rolls while Daniel attempted to work the complicated coffee maker his parents had left behind. They exchanged small gifts. She gave him a sketchbook for his new design dreams. He gave her a vintage art book he'd found in the attic. "Merry Christmas, Emma," he said, kissing her temple. "Merry Christmas, Daniel." Later, when his parents called from Switzerland, Daniel finally told them the truth. About quitting his job, about his plans to start his own residential design practice, about the girl next door who'd always been there, waiting for him to come home. His mother cried, but they were happy tears. "We just want you to be happy, sweetheart," she said. "And from the sound of your voice, I think you finally are." After the call ended, Daniel found Emma in the kitchen, frosting Christmas cookies with intense concentration. "So," he said, stealing a cookie, "think you could handle being with someone who's basically starting over? No fancy job, lots of uncertainty, questionable Christmas cookie decorating skills?" Emma looked up at him, flower on her nose, love in her eyes. "I think I can manage. Besides, someone needs to make sure you don't put too little tinsel on everything." "Too little? You mean too much? We're never going to agree on this, are they?" "Probably not." "Good," Emma said, pulling him down for a kiss that tasted like sugar and cinnamon and new beginnings. "I like a challenge." Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the world in white. Inside, two people who'd been orbiting each other for years had finally found their way home. Not to a place, but to each other. He wasn't supposed to be home for Christmas. Neither were the feelings that had bloomed between them, unexpected and perfect and right. But sometimes the best gifts are the ones you never saw coming, the ones that arrive exactly when you need them most. And this Christmas, wrapped in twinkling lights and second chances, Daniel and Emma unwrapped the greatest gift of all, each other.